Right when I thought I could not dislike the Dallas Cowboys for any other reason, Jerry
Uh,
Jones goes and opens his mouth and talks about the Bengals, man.
yeah.
So let me ask this question. What was stated? Because I'm seeing a bunch of different things resurfacing on social media regarding it, but I actually don't know what was stated.
It was basically a dig to the popularity of the Bengals,
Mhm.
like how today's new teams still aren't anything as popular as the Cowboys.
Yeah. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it.
He made the comment of, it was during the Sunday ticket trial or whatever the hell it is, and he said that we're America's team, and we should have no problems, unlike the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know that Jerry Jones and Mike Brown, they have this feud that's been going on for many years, and Jerry Jones to me is, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but Jerry Jones is like Joe Biden of the NFL owners committee. He's an old man that just needs to stop and needs to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
even before he was old, he just was
Yeah,
always he's meddling.
yeah,
That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear Jerry Jones, a meddling man. Like he just meddles in everything.
yeah,
That's what I think too. He's the when I think of meddling owner, Jerry Jones is the number one person that I think of the most. And they're like the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals are like two complete polar opposites of ownership styles and how it's usually built. I there's pros and cons to each side, if you will, or whatnot. But nonetheless, it sounds like that Jerry Jones is just jealous that other teams are kind of spreading their media growth, and it's not always got to be just about the Dallas Cowboys, who was mentioned on so many different networks and whatnot. And yeah, he want to name drop the Bengals because we're easy punching bag and target to talk about when it comes to the team that's not talked about much in national media iframes. So Jerry Jones, keep my team's name out your mouth and shut up, and then just go run the Cowboys or something.
Well, if you start looking at jersey sales, it's normally a big proponent of trending and what teams are trending hot. And Bengals jersey sales are up there, man. Burrow and Chase both
Mm-hmm.
are up
Yeah.
there in the top 10. So
yeah,
I feel like the youth of today is laying something different for tomorrow, right? So this 90s 2000 era of people that are getting older, right? The 90s Cowboys were really good.
hmm
That was the last time we were able to say that. So
yeah,
you look at the kids now are watching excitement in Cincinnati and watching disappointment in Dallas. So if the Bengals can get over this hump, they really could change this narrative for 25 years from now. Is
yeah,
Jerry partially right now? Yes, partially. But when he says that the Dallas Cowboys are the most popular team in the NFL, I think he's doing it mostly because his valuation of his team is $10 billion. And there's a lot to do with real estate in that valuation.
hmm
If you want gun to my head, you watch, away games and whatnot. I think the most popular team in the NFL is the Steelers, as much as I hate to say it.
yeah. And one thing I always joke around is, I know the or not Oh my goodness, I know the Cowboys have had this. They are America's team. I think it's time for a revote. I just I'm sorry, but I think it's time for a revote.
You
It's
know,
just that the Dallas Cowboys just has the most popular brand in all of football, and their brand was been their identity since Jerry Jones has been the owner of the team. Yeah, we can talk about the America's team nickname that they got since the days of the '70s and whatnot,
Right.
but really, Jerry Jones, when he took ownership of the Cowboys in '89 and so on, it's always been about the brand of the star and that logo and how it attracts so many eyeballs. And now he's just seeing the harsh reality of it is that when all teams are on a neutral ground, you actually see in the playing field is level in terms of media landscape, and other teams are starting to be featured. the Dallas Cowboys don't really reign supreme in that margin, but he always will have his brand. And it's the number one thing that I've criticized previous Bengalship cultures before in a Bengals ownership cultures in the past is because what's the difference between the Cincinnati Bengals and let's say the Cincinnati Reds? The Cincinnati Reds makes you feel much better about the brand. The Cincinnati Bengals, on the other hand, do not. And that's why you're starting to implement a lot of changes now, seeing a lot of changes come in the fold with this Bengals organization. They got the Ring of Honor. They're now on national TV more so than anything, more or less because of the power of the Joe Burrow effect more than anything, man. It all goes back to him directly for this stuff.
I thought you were going to say one of those teams is above 500 and one of them isn't, but I digress.
I wasn't going to get to that.
Nah, we'll leave that alone. But it's one of those things. You're just out of this era of what we watched. In 1985, I watched the Chicago Bears railroad the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots were only good or decent in my youth that one time.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until Brady and Belichick that they became good. There's a whole generation, now that it's getting older, that expect the Patriots way, the Patriots to win, yada, yada, yada. That wasn't the way it was when we were kids. They were a joke in the NFL most of the time.
Right.
Shit, even when I was a kid, it was the same way. Yeah, you had the Drew Bledsoe years when he was drafted in 93. They had the 1 year that they made to the Super Bowl in 96, but they got dismantled by the Packers. But they were one of those flash in the pants teams that season, and then they never could really hold their water. They've gone through, but it's to your point. When you get that guy at quarterback and the stars align at head coach, everything changes from there. And hopefully we're just looking at the changes and the stars finally aligning itself with the Joe Burrow era here in Cincy.
Now, you can call me a homer all you want to. We got that guy at quarterback. And
sure. Absolutely.
They got Dak. All right, welcome in. You've caught us here at Running Through the Jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Harriet, with your host here, Justin Lacey and Tim Lyons. What's going on, fellas?
What it do?
Still bangling around, as it says in my little Twitter handle here, just bangling around. I'm still doing it.
Well, mine says, before I get to that, I do want to point to over here. You guys can see what's behind the flag now. There's a register up here. That I normally cover with a flag. It's too damn hot out to cover the register, so you're gonna have to deal with it. So I put my French bulldog reading newspaper over here for those of you watching us on YouTube over my shoulder, keeping an eye on you guys. But my tag here says we're back, Mortimer. And what do I mean? We got the band back together.
You got to explain what the Mortimer means. Some of us.
Oh, you don't know the reference.
I don't. And this is some education for me.
Oh, no. Trading Places. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Okay. So Eddie Murphy and becomes an executive. They it's not Trading Places. What's the name of that movie?
Was it?
It is Trading Places.
It is Trading
Dan Aykroyd on the streets, and they pick up.
Yeah. I remember that.
Eddie Murphy. They put him in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the brothers' name is Mortimer, and one of the famous shows when they start making money again was "We're back, Mortimer" is one of the famous quotes from it. So,
yep,
yeah, that's where it comes from.
Got it. All right.
We got Austin's
I get
Art in the building. Hello, everyone. Thanks for rocking with us as always, Austin. Austin's Art. I do want to say we're back. Mortimer, I refer to here as having the band back together, getting our boy back faster than we thought we were going to.
Yep.
T. Higgins signed his franchise tag.
Yeah.
And that way before I thought. I mean, I told you guys in our text thread, talk to me at the end of August. But here we are. Here we are in June, and he's back in the building. Tim, what's your take on this?
When it happened, when I got the push, I think I shared it. Did I share it on Sunday? I think it was. They said they were going to sign on Monday. I don't remember what day it was when I shared it, and I was actually surprised because, like we expected, we didn't expect T. Higgins to sign that tag until August. Till July, August time, whatever. And it's nice to see that he signed that tag, which we knew it was going to happen. Honestly, as an NFL wide receiver, you're going to pass up $21.8 million for 1 year because, the team didn't work out a deal with you. I'd take it, but that's just me. I'm happy to see that he has signed that tag. They said that he's going to be in camp, to see him working with Joe and Jamar and the offense and all that stuff. It's T. Higgins. I know, and I've kind of ragged on him about his soft tissue issues. I think that's a song now, soft tissue issue. But it's nice. It's just nice to see he signed that tag. The drama is behind him for right now, because I just don't feel like the Bengals are even going to entertain re-signing him. But we never know. I'm not part of the organization. I can assume whatever. But it's nice to see that T has signed that franchise tag.
Yeah, and from all accounts too, T seems to be a very good locker room guy. A very good teammate for the guys. So that's also welcome in the building always as well. Justin, what's your thoughts here on T signing a little earlier than expected?
Well, for starters, I really didn't anticipate that the way how it was tweeted out, the wording of the tweet about he officially is signed for a 1 year deal. I thought that was pretty strange and odd, because it made people question, like, okay, is it like a full 1 year deal? But no, at the end of the day, no, it's he signed his franchise tag. Okay, let's just not overcomplicate it. But the tweets did make it complicated from Adam Scheffler and from the Bengals,
Yeah.
social media page. So I had a little bit of a gripe with that there, but overall, it shows that T. Higgins was always locked in step with his team no matter what. And even though this probably might be his last season in stripes with us, he was always going to be with his team, with his guys. He wants to compete and he wants to play. It's just unfortunate that the contract just didn't play out the way that it should be. But that is separate from him being there with his teammates and stuff. And he wanted this to be done and over with. It was really intriguing to see that Joe Burrow, when he said it in his presser, about he's had multiple conversations with him. And T. Higgins has also been in the building. That's another underrated thing that nobody's talking about. He's been around the team already. It just hasn't been reported that he's been in around the team. Nowhere in media, nowhere on social media showed that he was in the building or anything like that, but he was there. He was always involved with the process, even though he wasn't present at OTAs and minicamp due to
Well,
him
he
not
can't
signing.
be.
He
If you're not
can't
under
be because he's
contract, you
technically
can't be
not under
there.
contract. So,
And
but
I
now that
didn't.
he signed that tender, he can be like, all right, minicamp is on. The next step is training camp. I'm going to be there for that. So I might as well just sign and get this thing over with now. And we can still try to work out a long-term deal by the deadline of July 15th or something like that is when the deadline, or 18th.
Yep, July 15th.
Yeah.
So if you can't find a long-term deal, it is what it is. I'm here for 1 more year. The Bengals still have a bright future ahead of them, but so does T. Higgins, and I'm not really putting his injury history as a knocking on him, even though I know it's there. But T. Higgins is a guy that will do anything he can to be there for his teammates. He does define the definition of what it means to be a Bengal. He's always been a tough, hungry, accountable teammate that's willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And his version of it is trying to fight through his injuries and play hurt. And like that within the guy. You want to keep that guy around, even if it is for that 1 more year. So I'm happy to have him back. I can't wait to see him, how he morphs himself in with the rest of the crew at training camp when that rolls around. And I expect him to have a big year. So,
Yeah, I'm not surprised that I'm not surprised by T being back. I'm surprised by David Mulligetta having one of his guys back here this early.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things. There's a good culture in the locker room of people dealing with their business. Rewind it back to Jesse Bates when he was dealing with his business end of things, and you saw Joe Burrow and the guys go to a UFC fight with him. You saw they understand the business side of it is going to be the business side of it. Doesn't affect their relationship on the field, which I think is a good part of that. I think Mulligetta probably would want him to sit out more, but you've now got a perfect storm where I really think T wants to come ball out. He's thinking worst case scenario, one last rodeo with the homies, and we're going to try and go out there and win it all, right? It's like the Major League when he said there's only one thing left to do. Win the whole bleeping thing. Right? So I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it is he looks at some of these guys out here getting the bag for wide receivers. Wide receivers, I didn't think we're going to get in the $30 million mark, getting $30 million plus. So he looks at that and says, well, if I come out here and ball out, I can go from wanting a $24 million contract to playing on 22 and possibly getting a $30 or $32 million contract after next season. So what's the best way for me to have that season? Is it to sit out until August, or is it get back in that camp and back in that building with Joe Burrow? So you had that perfect storm, right? Where he turns to Mulligetta and Mulligetta says, you might be right. It may be go back early, ball out of control, and then go sign for 32 instead of 24.
Yeah.
So I think we probably, in a good way, got him back sooner because of that. In a bad way, it's going to be a lot harder to sign him, I think, after this season. I think now in his mind, the number's even larger than what it was going into this offseason.
Right. Yeah.
Any circle back on that, guys?
Well, I'll just be real quick, Justin. So the thing is with T. Higgins, he handled this professionally. He really did.
Very much so.
And I give him props. I think if T. Higgins had those 1,000-yard seasons, a 1,000-yard season last year, I think it would be a different story with how he would handle what's going on with this tag today. I know I've seen some speculations. People were like, well, T. Higgins had no other choice besides sign this tag, but if I'm somebody that is, possibly going to be somebody's number one on another team, or even if the Bengals decide, let's give him X, Y, and Z money, he agrees and he signs upon it, and he's going to be number two to Jamar Chase, it's still going to, if he has a great season this year, if he has a good season this year, 1,000 yards, there's no doubt in my mind that T's going to get 30 million on another team, but I'm happy that he is with us. T. Higgins is, he like I said, he handled it professionally, and I'm glad that it got done before it did, because of that time that he wasn't with the team, and to be honest with you, Justin, I didn't even know he was in the building during this whole time frame of not signing his tag yet. So that's news to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you really can't do it. He can't do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why.
Yeah. And my final point of it is this. The Bengals got their process and T. Higgins has his process, and neither one of them are wrong for going about the way that they needed to go about. It's just an unfortunate stalemated effort. Have we seen two potential high caliber number ones receivers paid on the same team before? Absolutely. But at the same time, the Bengals are in a weird situational spot here where we know Jamar Chase is going to be guaranteed a long-term contract, $30 million a year with his deal. And where does it leave T. Higgins? Well, we're comparing it to like that of the Miami Dolphins. They have Tua and they have Waddle. They just signed both of those guys to more recently Jalen Waddle. the Eagles with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and we're comparing T. Higgins to the likes of like Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle in terms of production value, but the production value really is not the same. Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle were drafted in the same first round draft status as Jamar Chase. Remember, Jalen Waddle was picked the next pick after Jamar Chase at pick number 6. And Devontae Smith won a Heisman Trophy in college, and he went in the first round too to Philly. He fell right there to them. So it's not the same thing. Those guys were expected to be like Jamar Chase level as far as caliber and production, not necessarily T. Higgins. So that says more about T. Higgins than anything. So T. Higgins do have the right to ask for more money because he's seeing two guys that just got paid a lot of money go in the first round, and he went in the second round, albeit the first pick in the second round. And he can almost look at his numbers with theirs. Talk about his injury history all you want to, but Jalen Waddle's had a little bit of an injury history as well too, and yet he can ask for that report. Like, I respect T. Higgins as far as like what he's looking to do, and even his agency. I know David Mulgett is not a popular name of likeness among Bengals fans, but he's doing the right. He's trying to do the right things for his clients and try to make sure his clients gets taken care of. And you can't hurt him. You can't fault him for that. And the same thing goes for the Bengals. You can't fault them for developing a pipeline led by Jamar Chase now for them to be able to bring in the next wave of guys. Every team has dealt with this as some sort of famine or another. And I'm not going to bring up examples this time, but there are plenty of examples I can bring up to where you like to see a talented receiver remain on the team, but the team had to make the decision and just either trade him or cut him or just let him walk in free agency. It happens. So with that being said, let's just enjoy it the moment right now, and let's just hope that T. Higgins and the Bengals can make more magic this year happen, and we'll see where the dominoes fall by the end of the season next year.
Yeah, you're looking at some tough choices going to have to be made. Mike Hilton, does he get a little bit more? Does he get another year, maybe 2? Karras got another year, right? Affordable year, under $7 million. Trey Hendrickson, I'm sure he'd like to have another year for $25 million or something along those lines. And you want to talk about what's going to cost Jamar Chase? I'm telling you right now, Jamar Chase is petty when it comes to one thing that I know of right off the top of my head. 4 years, 140, 110 guaranteed. That's Justin Jefferson's contract. So you know what Jamar Chase's is going to be? 4 years, 145, and 115 guaranteed. He's going to one-up his teammate from college and his friend and laugh about it. That's going to be the number in my mind. Yeah. It's going to be 35.833 or 35.750.
Let me ask this question let me ask this quick question because it just kind of popped into my head over the course of the week. And I didn't think about it to bring it up on the show, but now I kind of want to bring it up now that you brought up Jamar Chase. Do you think that next season, this upcoming season, he can reach the threshold of 2,000 yards? Receiving yards, I should say.
Jamar Chase?
Jamar Chase, 2,000-yard receiver. Do you think that he can be the one to break Calvin Johnson's record and become the first receiver to break 2,000 yards?
I'm gonna say no, because the way today's defense is and the way today's athleticism is on the field, he might get close to it. Maybe 1,800 yards, but 2,000
yards receiving. Calvin Johnson had 1,900 and I think 64. And I don't remember what his season. I think was it 2013, 2015, whatever season that was.
Yeah.
But that was the record. It's bound to be. Calvin Johnson has spoke about it recently. Like it's bound to fall eventually, and it's bound to happen eventually. I don't know, man. I think Jamar Chase has that ability to be the first 2,000-yard receiver, but he's not the only one. There's Tyreek Hill. There's Justin Jefferson, as we already mentioned. There's CeeDee Lamb even. And you got guys coming out of college that have high hopes and promise that they can probably do it too. Marvin Harrison Jr., we'll see what happens with his career as it begins now that he's going into Arizona Kyler Murray might not be the quarterback of his future with him. Maybe he is, but I don't know. There's a lot of promise. I think that at some point somebody is going to cross the threshold of 2,000 yards as a receiver. But man, it would be so special if that happens for Jamar Chase this year. That
It would just
I really think that'd be nice.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Jamar Chase has the caliber to do it. Justin Jefferson has the caliber to do it. But that's a hard. I don't know, man. I like Big E saying right here, defense.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it a little bit. Big E Bronco, thank you for tuning in again. As always, I highlighted his hit that thumbs up button. But he said, due to everybody going to that Vic Fangio defense where they play a net zero coverage, you'll be hard for a wide receiver to get that.
Yeah,
I get that. I get what you're saying, but two things. One, I think in order to get that right now, the advantage you have is 17 games over 16.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a player like Jamar Chase. How many times have we seen Jamar Chase take an in, a slant for 7-8 yards, and it's in the house?
Yeah.
2 years ago, that big game against the 240-yard game or whatever it was against the Ravens. That's all that was.
Yeah.
It was him breaking tackles. He's strong. He's like a running back in an open field. And he makes that happen. I think you'll need some of that to get it done. I don't think we see it this year because you got one ball. You got T. Higgins. If T. Higgins was not here, you'd have a bit higher probability of getting to that. But, man, that's a tough one to get. And I think Joe Burrow spreads the ball around a lot. He said, F it. Jamar's down there somewhere. I know, that's one of his greatest quotes. But really, when you look at it, he spreads the ball around a lot. Now you bring in Gesicki. I just I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it'll happen this year.
Well, like one thing I want to say is like last year with Tyreek Hill, he had 1,700, I think 99 yards, whatever the hell it was last year. I thought Tyreek was going to break it last year. I was like, he's going to break this. And then
he's on pace at one point.
Yeah, he was. He was at great pace to do it, with Tyreek Hill. I would love it. I think if Jamar Chase keeps working out the way he is, there's a possibility it could happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, that there's no way in hell that it's going to happen, but it could happen, and Jamar Chase could do it.
Yeah, I would say it's possible, slim possibility, but I wouldn't say it's probable.
I wouldn't predict that it would happen. It would be a bold prediction. Like I'm so close to one to just come out and say bold prediction. I think Jamar is going to break the 2,000-yard receiving season mode this season, and I think Joe Burrow is going to have over 5,000 passing yards as well. But I don't want to go there just yet because that's me putting a lot of pressure in hopes that I don't want to do. In all honest theory, I just want the Bengals to win a lot of football games and go all the way to the Super Bowl and win it. And stats are nice because we are in a statistical crazy world these days where everybody wants to measure stats among everybody's career. Yeah. And that would absolutely be a highlight point for the Bengals if that were to happen. But nonetheless, I don't want to predict that it happened. I truly feel like that it could really happen. And I just wanted to ask that question just because that's something that I don't think anybody's talking about. And if I'm Jamar Chase, I'm seeing all these guys come close. And if I really want to break the bank in the next offseason and surpass my counterpart in former college teammate and close friend and brother and Justin Jefferson and maybe potentially CeeDee Lamb, he might sign a similar deal. I need to have that kind of season. I want to have that kind of season and put that on my shoulders instead of like the Triple Crown or 1,500 yards and all that stuff. Instead of that kind of season and another just a regular Pro Bowl year, you're automatically considered an all-timer or even a Hall of Famer for that matter if you have 2,000 yards of receiving, because Jamar is just no ordinary receiver. It's one thing if we're talking, and I love him to death because he was one of my favorite Bengals too of all time. It's one thing if we're talking about Chad Johnson. I love Chad Johnson, but I'm going to be honest about Chad. Chad was not T.O., and he was not Randy Moss or Marvin Harrison. Chad was right there, almost there, and he led the AFC receiving yards for a few years, but It was tall. It was going to be a tall order to ask if 2,000 yards was possible for him, and also AJ Green too. And I love AJ Green,
Yeah.
but Jamar Chase, he just has a level of explosiveness that is not easily replicable with a lot of guys in the league. And I think that's why I tend to lean more towards that he could be the one to do it.
I'll,
Maybe not the first one,
I'll
but
tell
at
you
some point he could.
what I'd really like him to do. I'd like him to get 1,500 yards for the first time. That'd be great. That would be my goal for him. Big E Bronco says that's because Miami's quarterback can't throw the ball over 30 yards. Everything's underneath, and Tyreek Hill's got to break everything. And that's in response to Tyreek falling up short. Fun little stat for this, and you guys can double check this on there. The average, the throw per throw average downfield ball travel, right? So they drop back to pass, throw the ball. How far down the field does it go per attempt?
Let's say about 11 yards.
Do you know who was second to last and last in the league last year?
Tua.
Jake Browning.
No.
And Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Were second to last and last in the league last year. If you remember at the beginning, we didn't have the ball down the field at all the first 4 games, really.
Until that Arizona game.
And Tua had the quickest release at one point in time and the longest downfield throwing at one point in time. Now, I think he ended up like second or third in both of those categories, but still, he was throwing the ball down the field more than you give him. He was hitting that intermediate route a lot. He was ball traveling 15, 20 yards a lot on timing. So interesting stats there. But do I like Tua? No. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. If you're on YouTube, we'll be right back here in a second. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, we thank you guys for rocking. As always, please like, subscribe, share us with a friend. If you know somebody out there that loves football as much as we do or loves the Bengals, please get this over to them and let them know about us. And we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Runnin Thru the Jungle. Once again, you're here with the whole crew: Tim Lyons, Brandon and Harriet, and Justin Lacey. We've talked a little bit about T. Higgins, but we got a couple other signings I want to touch on real quick. Now that we have minicamp rolled up, we got the that portion of the festivities done. I want to talk about Ted Karras. Ted Karras adds an extra year to his contract, team-friendly deal. I think it was 6.8, if I recall off the top of my head here. Yeah, 6.8 for one more year. So we'll have him here for the 2024 and the 2025-26 season. So I'll kick it over to you, Justin. How excited are you about Ted Karras here signing for the one more year extension at the age of 31 now? So he'll play in his 32 season.
For sure. And it's another one of those well-deserved contracts. He has been one of he's a local favorite. Nobody hates Ted Karras, man. And he's also produced like a guy that you want to see out of that position. He don't need to be an all-pro caliber player. He doesn't need to be a pro bowler or whatnot. I'm sure he can get to those levels if he really if he truly wanted it to. But he's a guy that's consistent. He's a leader. He's a team captain. Everybody loves him in the locker room. He's a straight shooter. He's also a perfect liaison for guys on a coaching for the players and guys on the coaching staff in order to send the right message across. And, the thing that he does with his Cincy hat, I'm also a proud owner of a Cincy hat and a Cincy t-shirt. Thanks, Ted Karras. I got a chance to meet him at one of his foundation events last offseason. And you just appreciate a guy like that that's on your ball club, and he deserves the extension. And I want him extended because when we're talking about the position of center, who else do we have? Yes, we're talking about Matt Lee, the 7th round pick and all, but he hasn't taken a snap of football. And although we're high on him as far as like the likeness, I keep pointing that out as far as likeness goes, that fans, like his potential and think that we probably have a steal out of that. But he's still a 7th round pick. He may or may not work out. I like where we got him, and I do think that he can be the future. But the position group as a whole, Max Sharpen, he's already gone. He's went to the Eagles. Then the next one was what, Trey Hill. I'm just about done with that Trey Hill, Jackson Carman experiment. Deontay Smith, maybe not Deontay Smith so much, but Trey Hill, Jackson Carman. I'm to the point where I'm just kind of done with that experiment now, and I'm ready to move into something different. And
Yeah.
you want consistency and not volatility. You want consistency with the position, and Ted Karras being extended offers you that consistency while you continue to find a future. And if we continue to send him even longer, that's great. He already stated he wanted to finish his career here as a Bengal, and I think that he deserves that. So, but this is absolutely a great thing happening here, and it's going to be
Mhm.
one of those things that gets dusted under the rug. You're not going to hear a lot about other than the local media. So, but congrats, Ted, man. I appreciate you for having in the jungle for another season upon your original contract.
Yeah, I do want to touch on something that you spoke about there. For those of you who don't know or aren't real in tune with what goes on off the field, the Cincy hat is the Ted Karras has a foundation, and all 100% of the proceeds, if you go to, I think it's cincyhat.com. If you go there and buy the hat, 100% of the proceeds go to adults with disabilities, and it's mostly clothing and shelter and stuff like that. Very cool thing that he does. He's obviously entrenched in the off the field issues in the city itself and whatnot. Tim, your take on Ted Karras? I know you want to run the damn ball. Does this help you, or is this just something to keep Joe Burrow happy?
Well, it's Ted Karras. Justin hit everything on the head. I'm not going to repeat everything he said. He's not bad for a 6th rounder. So Ted Karras, he's a great guy. I love what he does for his charities and for Cincinnati and all that stuff. It was a smart move by Cincinnati, and to keep that protection for Joe, and have a veteran in there at center, and it's a great it's great. It is. It's a great thing. He's that veteran that's going to be there for Matt. Is it Matt Lee? Is that what the guy's
Yeah,
name from
That's
Miami?
Madly.
Okay,
Yeah.
for some reason I want to call him something else. Just Matt Lee doesn't seem right to me.
If you want to, you can. We won't mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm just I am happy that I did see that he was re-signed or he was extended for another year. It's great. Just like Justin said, I'm not gonna like I said, I'm not gonna repeat everything. But yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah, I think if you're getting a guy that's I think he's in the top half of the league, so top 15 player at center,
Yeah.
probably a top 5 human being in the league, and you're getting
Mhm.
him under $7 million for an extra year, and it's year 32. I also think this probably means that they like Matt Lee, but think he needs a little more development, or another year
Yeah.
would really help him grow, as far as maybe scheme being different, and there may be something physically they want him to work on. So great signing, great extra year for me. Also, another year after somebody after 30. So are
Mhm.
they starting to see the value there in an early 30s player here and there, as long as it doesn't break the bank? Could be some foreshadowing and things to look at down the line.
Mhm.
Um, not my most exciting signing of the off or of the past week, I should say. For those of you that have been watching the show since, I don't know, a month or two before the NFL draft, could probably guess where my guy's at. Chris Jenkins, the mutant, the rookie out of Michigan, signs his rookie deal.
Mhm.
So that was my most exciting one. I mean, I was waiting for that. I thought it took too long. It is
Yeah.
what it is. But we got him in here, 4-year deal, 7.8 million. $2.5 million signing bonus and $5.4 million guaranteed. I mean, is it $8 million, less than $8 million for 4 years? I don't know what took so long. Tim, are you as excited as me?
Oh, I am. I'm definitely excited because this is a defensive tackle that I believe the Cincinnati Bengals need. I know everybody was,
I would say desperately need.
Yeah, desperately needed. After the loss of DJ of DJ Reader, I think Chris Jenkins is going to do things that we're not used to seeing at a defensive tackle position. Along with Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill. I think he was a great signing. He was a great draft pick. We saw what he did in Michigan, and that's the biggest reason why Brandon's excited too, because he's a Michigan boy. The mutant, love to see it. I'm happy to see him sign that deal, and I agree with you, Brandon, 110%. It took way too long for him to sign his rookie contract. I don't kind of understand that, but what it is, what it is. It got done, and let's get ready to roll.
Justin, you as excited as we are? You just ready to get on with it?
Of course, but part of it is that I just want the rookies to be under their contracts, just so we can move on and start getting into football. But it's exciting because, did you really have any doubt that he was not going to sign his deal? No. I think we're so far gone from the days where rookies would hold out and all the way leading up to training camp. The last example that I can think of goes back to Andre Smith when we drafted him in 2009. And he held out do most of training camp before signing his contract, and he ended up breaking his foot, and he didn't even play his rookie year. And that was kind of like a bad sour taste in your mouth sort of start to his career that never really flourished to what you would think that a tackle would flourish into, especially when we drafted him high. I think we're so gone beyond those days with the new rendition and the structure of the salary cap and the players league and players association to how contracts are, formulated especially more specifically when it comes to rookies. But for Chris Jenkins, I don't understand the hold up either, but a part of me also just thinks well, it is June. So I'm glad to just get it done and over with. That makes Amarius Mims is the only person that's not signed yet. Hopefully he can get his stuff taken care of soon as well too. So that way we can just go to training camp, everybody signed, no holdouts, no nothing, and then just be ready for the 2024 season. But as far as Chris Jenkins as a player goes, I'll reiterate my high upside for him is that it may not happen this year, but you can foresee it happening later down the road to where he will shift the production value to his direction post Trey Hendrickson. Right now, the best defensive player on the best defensive, defense player, but the best person on the defensive line as far as players go is Trey Hendrickson. He's the one that brings the value on that D line. But I think that you're going to see that shift to Chris Jenkins at some point because he's the high character guy. He's a high motor guy. I believe that he's somebody you can build your defensive line around and shift that evolution towards that way. So in eventual years when you have to look beyond the Sam Hubbards and the Trey Hendersons of the world, and you got to start rebuilding that D-line depth, Chris Jenkins is the guy that I want to make sure that I keep around. And I just have so much high promise for him. I understand I wanted Byron Murphy in the first round of that draft, but, man, you can't go wrong with a guy like Chris Jenkins Jr., man. And I'm happy to see that his deal got done, and I just can't wait to see him on the field more than anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things being said about his minicamp and OTAs. So I'm pretty excited too. It was funny because I think he was almost a little bit overshadowed coming out of Michigan because we had a really good rotation. Right now, we've got two guys that are at the University of Michigan still at defensive tackle that are expected to be first or second round draft picks next year with Mason and Grant. So that was definitely a big upside for them. But man, Chris Jenkins looks good so far. And I know we need him. 31st rush defense is not going to take you where you want to go. It's not the expectation, not the expectations we have for this team for sure. The other news that came out of left field, other than the T signing, was a little HBO. Hard Knocks. Not only are we back on Hard Knocks, the AFC North, the entire division is going to be on the midseason Hard Knocks. Which you look at this, it's pretty crazy. I think we play 4 or 5 of our last games after November are all. We're very heavy in division games late across the slate here. I almost wonder. I think all 6 of Pittsburgh Steelers division games are late into the year.
Yeah, they played.
I almost wonder if the NFL had this kind of knew going into releasing those dates that they were going to be doing this and creating this drama and whatnot, because it could be fireworks, really.
Yeah,
It definitely feels like that it was par for the course with that being because when the schedule was released, the number one talking point when the Garling Steeler Nation is all of their division games are in the back end of the season.
Mhm.
And this is supposed to air starting December in early December, and that's probably right around when you start to get those division games for Pittsburgh starting to kind of surface on the slate a bit. But it's also going to make for some dogfight battles. It's going to be nice to see all 4 teams. This is the first time that the NFL division, the Hard Knocks, has done this for a whole division, and I think that's going to be one heck of a thing, man. When the Bengals have done this before, they've had successful seasons. In 2009, they've done Hard Knocks, and Chad Johnson quoted the infamous "Child, please." In 2013, the Bengals ended up also winning the AFC North that year. But that Hard Knocks feature, I think that James Harrison was the most prominent character on Hard Knocks, of him always avoiding the cameras and stuff and shunning them from the locker room. But
no, that was
I think it's
Giovanni Bernard driving the minivan. That was the funniest thing on that.
yeah, that I do remember that cut up there too. But look, I think this is great publicity for the Bengals. It's a chance to rewrite your brand, because you're expected to be one of the powerhouses of the AFC going into this season, and you got a healthy squad, and we know that you can do some great things. So we hope to think that the Bengals have learned their lessons from last year and winning only one game against Browns team resting all of their guys. And you would expect that going into this year that the Bengals are going to win a hell of a lot more AFC North games in the division, because they know they can be the big dogs when it matters the most. So this is a great thing for the division. It's the best division in football. You're going to have players galore on all different teams that's going to be entrenched in different storylines. And I'm excited to see it and how it all works out. So yeah, December is going to make for quite a bit of TV. So if you ain't got your HBO Max or Max subscription, you better renew that now, because it's going to be pretty good. Yeah. So I'm excited to see it happen.
Yeah, I mean, you start looking at some of these in seasons. So the first one was the Colts in 2021, then the Cardinals, then the Dolphins. I mean, there was nothing that really. I mean, the Dolphins basically went into free fall after starting off really hot. So, I mean, this is really a big spike, a big shot in the arm for the end season. I think they're doing it with. I'm tired of having the argument. I'm not going to say arguably anymore. They're doing it with the best division in football. So I think the NFL sees what we've been saying this whole offseason, that there's going to be some fireworks coming out of this division. So, Tim, what are your thoughts on this?
From what I understand, it's supposed to be like the last 6 weeks of the NFL season. So if that's true, we have Pittsburgh, and then the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football, and then Denver Broncos, and then Pittsburgh, the last game of the season. That's going to be some exciting football to see. I love Hard Knocks. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like watching Hard Knocks. Like last year, I watched the Dolphins. I'm not a Dolphins fan, but like watching Hard Knocks, and like when I watched the Jets too, the Jets Hard Knocks, it made you, I'm not saying fall in love with the players or what's going on in the organization, but like with McDaniels as the coach for the Dolphins, to see how he is with his men, with his guys, and how he is in the locker room and all that. That was great to see.
It gives a human element to where we
Yeah.
normally don't see it.
Yeah, and like us being Cincinnati Bengals fans, they did last year. They did the was it run or what was it called? Something in the jungle that they did on the Cincinnati Bengals
From
website.
the jungle.
What's that?
From the jungle.
From the jungle. So
And
they
they're doing
did that.
season 2 with that too, by the way.
Yeah, so I watched that last year, but for me with the Dolphins, I liked it because, as you guys know, I'm the run the damn ball type of guy, and seeing Mostert, getting 30 touchdowns, it was just exciting to see these guys on and off the field, and then the guys that were, nobodies and they stepped up when those injuries happened. So, it's exciting. It's AFC North football, like I always say, AFC North football. It's the toughest damn division in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. We'll go up against your division any day of the week. The AFC North they're just dogs. We're dogs. That's all there is to it. Even though, we have the Browns in there, we're all still dogs, and we're going to battle it out. And it's just going to be exciting to see, this go on through these last six weeks.
I do want to bring this up too as well, because Hard Knocks have never featured a Super Bowl champion, and and then some of the teams that they've had on there has really not fielded competitive units throughout the in-season version of Hard Knocks.
I gotta mute him on that one. Man, you giving up all my take. You had your take already.
My bad. Go ahead.
It's this big G. Listen, you hit the nail on the head though, Justin. I'm gonna tell you two things. One thing that's always happened that's gonna happen again. Cincinnati Bengals are on Hard Knocks, they win a division. And one thing that's gonna happen that's never happened before. The Super Bowl champion is going to be on Hard Knocks this year. They're going to come out of the AFC North.
I think so. I agree with you. And even that's including the Baltimore Ravens, who are also another Super Bowl favorite as well, too. Yep. Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Look, I know Cleveland has never won a division since returning back to Cleveland in 99. And Pittsburgh is still somewhat in whatever disarray at the quarterback position. But those two teams can still feel competitive units and win a lot of games at any given moment. And it would not shock me if one of those two teams also wins the division as well, too. It is a brutal division. We beat each other up. And like I said, even though we were at 1-5 last year, the Bengals should have won more division games last year, and we all know that. And we're expected to win more this year. And I do agree. I still feel like that. I think the makers of Hard Knocks, and what I was getting to my point really was that they've seen that the trend line hasn't trended in a positive direction, where one season of the quarterback documentary produced by Peyton Manning featured a Super Bowl champion in Patrick Mahomes. But Hard Knocks has been doing this for a while. Dude, like Hard Knocks has been doing this for a long time now, and that's during training camp and also in each season, and they can't even produce like successful winning season products here. So I think that they decided to expand the microscope and like, you know what? Why don't we just capture a whole division? And why not the best division in football in the AFC North?
But, the training camp one now, if you're in the playoffs the year before, you can refuse to do it.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That was true. And a lot of teams didn't want to deal with that distraction.
Yeah.
Which made me surprised because Marvin Lewis was always a guy that didn't want any of that kind of attention. But yeah, he was on Hard Knocks twice during those times. So,
but the year before he wasn't in the playoffs.
No, and to be fair too, Hard Knocks expected to do the back end of the season, but it's going to continue into the playoffs too. And if we make a deep playoff run, or Baltimore does, and let's say if Baltimore and Cincinnati meets in the AFC Championship game, that's going to make one hell of a show for Hard Knocks, man. That's going to be exciting. So I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait for that December month to come in that regard when it comes to football. There's a lot of interesting eyeballs, and HBO Max got to get themselves on the map here outside of just the regular in-season stuff, because now you got games on Netflix, Peacock, Paramount Plus has already been doing it, and Amazon Prime has already been doing it as for the last 2 years. HBO Max got to get in the fold with some of their things, and they gotta feel like, how can they expand what they already do in the NFL with Hard Knocks, and how can they make it more interesting? So capturing a whole division is marketing genius there.
Yeah,
definitely. Another little bit of news. We had a Burrow turn 1 year old.
Mm-hmm.
So
We literally had a Burrow baby.
Literally had a Burrow baby. If you haven't heard the news, there's a child that was born and named after Burrow, as in Burrow, not Joe, but Burrow. So there's a Burrow baby. It's her 1 year old, and you gotta love the Joe Burrow surprising the family and giving what is their autograph balls and coats and some bunch of other stuff. Just a really cool, like the guy. I love his charisma and I love that he's got it like that. My question to you guys: what was your takeaway from it? You think it's cool? You think it's nonsense? And would you name your child Burrow? I really think this only applies to Justin because I think Tim and I are way past due. The expiration date on childbirth is gone.
You know, I thought I watched the story on YouTube. They showed the news clip of it a couple days ago. Burrow Hodges is the little boy's name. It's cool. It's a cool, cute thing. Like for my middle son, his middle name is Ace. I was hoping one day that he was going to grow up to be, a star pitcher or baseball player. So I gave him the middle name as Ace. Just like this family, they gave him their favorite football player in Bengal, Joe Burrow. Burrow. That is. I think it's great, and I don't know if you listened to the whole story of it, if it was Brandon, but I think it was Dad or Uncle was DMing Joe Burrow, and he got no response. So he emailed the vice president of the Bengals, and then they finally sent him this box. It's cute. It's a cute story. It is. It's a cute story, and I'm happy for the family.
So, are we going to have a Burrow Lacey running around out there, or what?
I don't really feel like that. I need to do that. No. Look, it is absolutely a cute story. Burrow Hodges is a dope name, and he's got a little ring to it. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think that I'm going to look to entertain that because, first of all, I don't think my girl will even think that's going to be the case. Like, I'll probably say, "What about Burrow?" She'd be like, "Hell no!" I'm like, "Boy, no. You don't have to name every kid after a sports athlete."
Child, please.
She's going to use the Chad Child Please reference on me on that. But it's a great story. It's also a great thing to see with that with Burrow sending them an autographed football, and the Bengals in general just sending that to him. So much respect to the Bengals for putting that story out there like that. I love that. I think Joe Danneman, one of the newscasters that highlighted that story. So shout out to him for that. But no Burrow babies coming my way. I will buy them a Burrow jersey. If Joe Burrow is still a Cincinnati Bengal by the time I even have children, for that matter, or if they're old enough to even retain and recall memory of watching football, yes, they will have a Burrow jersey. I'm going to force it on them. They can't say no, even if you don't like football. I don't care. So,
hey Brandon, do you think if I name my next bulldog Burrow, they'll send me an autographed ball by Joe Burrow?
You better do it for like 30 others because I'm pretty sure there's a multiple people that got their dogs named after Burrow. Burrow has a nice ring to it. I mean, it's like a great quarterback's name, and he plays that position. So that's number one. But when you think of Burrow, the first thing I think of is arrow and how arrows are straight shooters and whatnot. And if you're a whiz that's shooting an arrow, Burrow the arrow. I don't know. My mind works in weird ways, man. I've been drinking. Sorry.
All right, so that's going to conclude the Bengals festivities. Tim, any parting comments or words here before we get out of here? I know if you listened last week, we told you we were going to do defense this week, what our expectations were and breakdown for each position room. We did not do that because, well, honestly, T. Higgins. So that took us in another direction. So with it being the off season, you got to stick with us. When there's stuff to talk about, we're going to jump right into it and talk about it. So we kick the can. We can do the expectations next week. So it's a good one. That's going to be a really good show. I really like the offensive one. So I'm pretty excited about that. Tim, what's your parting shots here?
We kind of didn't give our parting shots last week, so I'm going to tell every father out there, Happy Father's Day, even though it's a
I
couple
think we
days
were
late.
like 14 minutes over.
Yeah, and we were over too. So, but Happy Father's Day to everybody. Like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys. We really do. We appreciate all the support that you guys give us. But like and subscribe and share and hit that alert button. And you guys have a great, fabulous week. Hoo day.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we're definitely, we were talking about this earlier backstage. Our numbers are growing exponentially in the podcast realm with Spotify and Apple. And we really appreciate you guys for that. We knew getting in the off season and starting to do these live shows on YouTube was going to take a little bit to build. So we really appreciate you guys. Austin's Art showing up in here. We've had some Steelers fans in here. We've had some Bengals fans in here. We've had a Biggie Bronco in here. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us for sure, putting comments out there. So hopefully we just keep building that, sharing that, and getting that going more and more. We can get some more questions and do some Q&As out of here, especially during the off season. Justin, what's your parting shots here to take away?
And I'm going to reverse my original thinking when I brought it up earlier in this show, and that was regarding Jamar Chase and the potential of him. Could he have 2,000 yards? And I said I wasn't going to predict it. Man, screw it. I'm bold today. I think he gets 2,000 yards receiving.
Hold on.
Let's go.
Hold on. You guys need to switch your taglines. I think Tim's got your tagline underneath his. I drink and I know things. We need to switch that up. We need to put that under Justin.
We got to put that under me because I had a nice little beverage here, and I've been enjoying it throughout recording this show with you guys, and I love it.
Amen.
And I do believe that I know ball as well, too. And cheers. Yeah, we cheers in that for those that's watching on YouTube. So, but regardless,
Liquid Death sparkling water.
Hey, Liquid Death is a form of alcoholic water. It's just the constant H2O. It's not alcoholic water. It's not alcohol, but it's alcoholic-like with the name. But yes, I do believe that Jamar Chase can do it, and I'm gonna be bold, man. I don't care if I'm wrong, and I don't care if it doesn't happen. I'm not gonna be hanging my head low and disappointed. Oh, I'm so mad it didn't happen. I think it does.
Here's my suggestion: if you think he's got it or he's going to be close, go look at that futures bet for him to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, I know. I already saw it. Just like you had said too. Like I think you put that prop bet on for that futures bet, and I do think that is a good bet to make a good amount of units on. Because if you get 2,000 yards as a receiver, there's a great chance that you're going to win Offensive Player of the Year. Nobody's never done that.
Right, you're 100%.
That's my parting shot, guys.
My parting shot is outside of football. Baseball lost a legend this week. R.I.P. Willie Mays. Thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. There's a game, an MLB game being played at Rickwood in Alabama. It's the oldest stadium in America where they used to have Negro League games. I think it's beyond time that those stats from the Negro Leagues are now going to be included in Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame and the stats. Very cool thing for them to do. So Willie Mays may not know, but he's got 8 more hits than he did. So he was in there for just a short stint in the Negro League. So looking forward to seeing what they do at Rickwood tomorrow. That's at 7:15 for any of you guys who want to watch on Thursday. Thursday evening at 7:15. If you're watching this on Spotify or whatever, you get it before then. You should check that out. I'm sure they'll probably do a pretty cool opening ceremony, and I'm sure there's going to be a moment of silence for the legend Willie Mays. Died at 93 years old. A great life lived. So that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you rocking with us. Cannot tell you enough. Everything, getting on here and watching those numbers grow and doing this thing and cutting it up and having our regulars with us means a lot to us. So we appreciate you. Without further ado,
Definitely.
catch us out next week. If you're looking for us on YouTube, every Wednesday night, 8:05. Drive time Thursday morning, Eastern time on these times. Drive time Thursday morning is where you'll find us on our podcast. And then you can check us out next week right here, Wednesday night, 8:05 live YouTube, as we are running through the jungle.